A public apology to Cardi B's daughter, Culture. For anyone that lives under a rock, Nicki and Cardi have been going back and forth on Twitter, going crazy on each other, even speaking on each other's kids. Here's someone saying, Culture, come get your chain. And Nicki said, Culture, gum get your chain.
Y'all, this is not a drill. What started as just another rap feud just exploded into something way bigger. After Nicki Minaj allegedly dragged Culture Kiari Cephas, the daughter of Cardi B and Offset, the internet has gone into absolute meltdown. Nicki tried to clean it up with a sweet apology letter, but Cardi wasn't having none of it. Offset is furious. Fans are divided. And now, sources say a $1 million lawsuit is about to turn this messy rap beef into an all-out legal war. This isn't just Twitter shade anymore. This is a full-blown storm that's got the whole industry talking. One side's saying Nicki's trying to grow, the other says it's way too late. And Offset, he's ready to burn the whole thing down to protect his baby girl. It all started with a few words that no one could have ever imagined would ignite one of the biggest feuds in hip-hop history. One live stream, one comment. One line that crossed every unspoken boundary. For years, the rivalry between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B had lived in the shadows of the internet, fueled by subliminal bars, shady interviews, and petty jabs online. But what happened this time wasn't subliminal, wasn't subtle, and wasn't just about music. It was personal, deadly personal. During a heated online session, Nicki reportedly made a comment that sent shockwaves through the industry. Culture, come get your chain. She laughed an offhand jab aimed not at Cardi directly, but at her daughter, Culture Kiari Cephas. And if that wasn't enough, multiple witnesses claimed Nicki used demeaning language. Calling the little girl a roach and a monkey, the internet erupted. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing. This wasn't a diss track. This wasn't a rap battle. This was dragging a child into grown folk beef. For Cardi, that was the one line no one, not even her biggest rival, could cross without facing consequences. The clip spread like wildfire. Within hours, hashtag #ProtectKulture and hashtag Nicki apologize started trending across multiple platforms. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everyone was talking about it. Some fans tried to defend Nicki, saying the audio might have been edited. Others insisted they'd watched it live and knew exactly what they heard. And then came the response. Cardi didn't hold back. On her Instagram Live, her face was calm, but her voice shook with fire. "Say what you want about me," she said, "but don't bring my daughter into your drama. That's where I draw the line." The moment she said it, her fan base Barty Gang unleashed. Post after post flooded social media, calling Nicki out for going too far. People started digging up old interviews, old shade, old clips, piecing together what they now saw as a pattern of Nicki crossing lines. It wasn't just beef anymore, it was about motherhood, respect, and protection. But this wasn't just Cardi's fight. It's time Offset, who normally lets the music speak for him, decided he wasn't staying quiet. Within minutes of the clip blowing up, Offset went live himself. And this wasn't the rapper Offset. This was a father, a man defending his child. He looked directly into the camera and said, "I'm gonna sue this lady for talking about my daughter. You can say whatever you want about me, but when you come for my kid, it's done." The live exploded. Comments poured in from fans, celebrities, and even legal analysts. This wasn't just going to be another round of online drama, this was about to turn into a legal war. Offset wasn't bluffing. According to insiders, his team immediately contacted lawyers to explore their options for defamation and emotional distress. Meanwhile, Nicki's team was silent. Not a tweet, not a statement, not a word. That silence only fueled the fire. People started speculating. Was Nicki preparing a defense? Was she about to double down? Or was she realizing she'd finally gone too far? As the hours passed, things got even messier. Fan accounts on both sides clashed online, Barbs versus Barty Gang, and the drama escalated from a personal insult to a cultural moment. People debated what the boundaries of rap beef should be. Was everything fair game? Or did kids remain strictly off limits no matter how ugly the feud got? In the middle of the chaos, old wounds reopened. This wasn't the first time Nicki and Cardi's rivalry had exploded. Fans remembered their infamous New York Fashion Week fight years ago, when Cardi allegedly threw a shoe and shouted about someone talking about her child. That moment had been a warning. When it comes to her daughter, Cardi doesn't play, but this time the stakes were way higher. There was a clip, a lawsuit, and a fan base that refused to let it slide. Cardi supporters painted her as a mother defending her child, while Nicki's supporters argued that the clip was being twisted for clout. Then, almost as suddenly as the clip spread, Nicki posted an apology. But it wasn't directed at Cardi, it was directed at Culture herself. "Dear Culture," she wrote, "the truth is, I did all this for a bigger purpose, and one day you'll understand. You're a cute child. Lots of kids have little funny-looking gums before they grow into their features. One day you'll see this. So I have to say I apologize. As a child of God and queen of my community, who look to me for integrity. You are an innocent child and don't deserve any of this." The internet froze. Some read the apology as sincere. Others saw shade wrapped in sugar. It wasn't just an "I'm sorry," it included spiritual language, backhanded lines, and what many saw as subtle jabs at Cardi and her family. Cardi wasn't fooled. Within minutes, she went live again. "Keep my girl's name out your mouth. You don't apologize to my daughter on social media? You don't use my child for PR? If you're really sorry, you keep kids out of it. Period." Boom! That was the moment the feud shifted into overdrive. Barbs began flooding timelines with messages. The timeline was a battlefield. Hashtags like #NickiApologize, #KeepKidsOutOfBeef, and #BARDI protects KULTURE trended simultaneously. Gossip blogs were eating it up. Mainstream outlets picked up the story. Even major networks began reporting it as the feud that crossed a line no one expected. But then came the next twist. Nicki's apology. Instead of releasing a standard public statement, Nicki crafted what many called a poetic apology, addressed not to Cardi, but to Culture. It was filled with spiritual language, vague life lessons, and a line that would ignite even more chaos. "One day, your mother, aunt, and many more will be brought to their knees for what they have said and tried to do to my young prophet." The moment that line hit social media, it was over. Cardi B fans exploded. "That's not an apology. That's a threat," one fan tweeted. Another wrote, "This is classic Nicki wrapping shade in pretty words." And Offset, he wasn't having it. Within hours, he posted a cryptic message that sent chills through the fandoms. "If you don't play with my family and walk away like it's a game, no music, no hashtag, no explanation needed." Everyone knew what he meant. Meanwhile, the legal world was already buzzing. High-profile attorneys began analyzing the potential case on social media. Some said Offset might have a real claim if the livestream could be proven as targeted harassment of a minor. Others argued that public figures often get away with heated remarks under free speech protections. But everyone agreed on one thing. If this lawsuit moved forward, it would be unprecedented in hip-hop history, and Nicki's camp silent. Again, that their silence only fueled speculation. Was she meeting with lawyers? Was she preparing her own counterclaim? Or was she hoping the storm would pass? But this time, there was no passing storm. The world was watching too closely. To make things worse, Cardi went live again, not yelling, not crying, but speaking with the quiet anger of a woman who's had enough. "I'm a lot of things," she said, "but I'm a mother first. And when you talk about my child, I'll never forget it. You can drop 1,000 songs and 1,000,000 apologies. I don't care. That line don't get uncrossed." The power of that statement shook both fandoms. People who weren't even on Cardi's side before began agreeing. Bringing a child into beef is unacceptable. By day 3, celebrities started taking sides. Some quietly unfollowed Nicki on social media. Others liked Cardi's posts. A few publicly called for peace, but it was too late. The feud had spiraled far beyond control. Music insiders began whispering about long-term fallout, brands backing away from Nicki, festival organizers rethinking lineups, and collaborators debating whether to distance themselves. This wasn't just a bad PR moment. It was a career-shaking scandal, and Offset's team, they weren't backing down either. Rumors swirled that they were gathering witness statements, timestamps, and digital forensics to prove the live stream was real and unedited. Offset reportedly told a friend, "I'm not letting her rewrite this. I'm going to make sure everyone sees what she did." For fans, it became bigger than music. It became a fight over who was telling the truth and who would pay the price. As the tension built, both camps retreated into silence, but it wasn't the peaceful kind. It was the kind of silence that comes before something huge. The lawsuit was moving. The fan bases were at war. The industry was holding its breath, and deep down, everyone knew. This was just the beginning. By the third day, it was clear that this was no ordinary rap beef. This wasn't about subliminals or sneak disses anymore. The feud between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B had crossed a line so personal that the entire music industry had started paying attention. Offset's lawsuit against Nicki wasn't just a headline, it was a warning shot that echoed through studios, boardrooms, and festival offices. Publicists were holding emergency calls. Label execs were whispering behind closed doors. Everyone knew when legal paperwork gets involved, the game changes completely. The first ripple hit streaming services. Within 24 hours of the lawsuit going public, both Barb's and Barty gang started a streaming war. Nicki's fans rallied to push her songs up the charts, while Cardi's fans responded with coordinated streaming parties to boost Cardi's numbers. TikTok was flooded with duets and edits, some mocking, some defending, all adding fuel to a growing digital inferno. Then the brands started reacting. A luxury fashion line that had recently worked with Nicki quietly removed a teaser campaign that was set to launch. A children's clothing company that Cardi had a collaboration with publicly posted, "We stand with mothers and children, period." Though they didn't name names, everyone knew exactly who they were talking about. Behind the scenes, Offset's legal team kept working. They weren't bluffing, they had gathered multiple live stream recordings, screenshots, and fan testimonies to prove that Nicki's comments were made in real time and were not manipulated. They were crafting a case not just to win, but to make an example out of what happens when someone crosses a sacred line, insulting a child. Meanwhile, Nicki's camp was quiet. Too quiet, no press release, no denial, no acknowledgement. Her fans defended this silence as letting lawyers handle it. Cardi's fans saw it as guilt. Either way, the vacuum of information only amplified the noise. Industry insiders began picking sides. And that's when the real pressure started. A well-known producer tweeted, "Say what you want in music, but kids are off limits, period." A major female rapper posted an IG story simply saying, "Team Mom." It wasn't tagged, but everyone knew who she was backing, even neutral celebrities. The ones who usually stayed silent during fan wars began commenting on how the situation had gone too far. It was becoming a moral issue, not just a musical one. And while all of this unfolded publicly, something else was happening in private. Nicki's label was panicking, according to reports leaking from insiders. Nicki was preparing to drop a new single within weeks. But the backlash was so intense, so focused, that marketing executives debated postponing the release. "The timing is terrible," one insider said. "If we drop the record now, the headlines won't be about the music. It'll be about the lawsuit." And then there was the Offset effect. His fiery live stream and unwavering stance as a father protecting his daughter earned him unexpected support across demographics, even from people who weren't fans of either artist. News outlets outside of the music world picked up the story. Talk shows debated whether celebrities should be legally accountable for what they say online. Parenting advocacy groups chimed in, praising Offset for drawing a hard line where it matters most around a child's dignity. The conversation had outgrown hip-hop. It had become cultural. Meanwhile, on social media, things were spiraling into chaos. Nicki's apology post, or what many called a shade-dipped apology, was being dissected line by line. The part where she called Culture a cute child was overshadowed by the infamous line, "One day, your mother, aunt, and many more will be brought to their knees." Fans read it, reread it, and argued for hours. Was it a prophecy? A threat? A dig? No one could agree. But everyone could feel the venom underneath it. Cardi made her position loud and clear. "I don't need no apology wrapped in holy talk." She said on Instagram Live, "You don't get to disrespect my daughter and then pray it away. Not today." Her live hit nearly 400,000 viewers. That was more than some major network shows get in prime time. Every line she spoke became a viral soundbite. Every glare was screen capped and shared. The tension wasn't just between the artists anymore, it was in the air. Fan meets turned into debates. DJs at clubs reportedly refused to play Nicki songs in some cities out of respect for Cardi's fans. Bardi Gang showed up in full force on Twitter, calling for Nicki to face consequences, not just legally, but professionally. And Offset, he wasn't backing down. He posted another short, quiet statement to his Instagram story. "If you disrespect my family, don't cry when the consequences come." Short, sharp, and effective. Nicki's supporters tried to spin it. They claimed Offset was milking the situation or using it for clout. But that argument didn't hold up well against the raw emotional weight of a father protecting his child. Even some neutral fans of Nicki admitted, yeah, she crossed the line. As pressure mounted, Nicki's team reportedly scrambled to contain the damage. Lawyers were involved. PR strategists were pulling sleepless nights trying to figure out whether she should make a real apology or let the legal team handle everything. But no matter what they decided, one fact was clear. The world had already chosen its narrative. This wasn't the Nicki versus Cardi feud anymore. This was about right and wrong, and in a culture where perception matters as much as facts. Nicki was losing the PR war fast. Offset's lawsuit hadn't even reached court yet. But it had already reshaped the conversation in hip-hop. What started as a live-stream comment about a child now threatened to derail a superstar's image, fracture fan bases, and make history as one of the most personal and public legal battles in rap history. And behind the scenes, the temperature was still rising. Cardi's camp was doubling down. Nicki's team was hiding in the shadows. The industry was bracing for impact. This was no longer just a feud. It was a reckoning. 3 days of silence. 3 days of fans, brands, celebrities, and legal teams moving pieces like a chessboard. Then, just when people thought Nicki Minaj might try to wait this out in silence, she finally spoke. Out in silence, she finally spoke. But if anyone thought her response would be a soft apology to calm the storm, they were wrong. Nicki didn't choose a polished PR statement. She didn't post a lawyer-written press release. She went live, unfiltered, raw, emotional, over 500,000. People tuned in within the first 5 minutes. Instagram nearly crashed. Fans held their breath. Enemies sharpened their claws. Nicki appeared calm at first, hair slick, makeup flawless, but her eyes told a different story. They were sharp, calculating, ready for battle. She started slowly, deliberately. "I see everything. I hear everything. And I know y'all been waiting for me to speak." The chat section exploded. Barbs flooded it with pink heart emojis and queen messages. But Bardi Gang was there too, waiting for a single wrong move. Nicki continued, her voice firm. "Let's get one thing straight. I love children. Always have. Always will. And to twist my words into something evil is disgusting. Y'all know how the internet is. People cut clips, edit, twist. They've done it before. This is nothing new. She was framing herself not as the villain, but the victim. A target. A woman being misunderstood. Then she leaned closer to the camera and said, "What I said wasn't meant the way they're making it seem. I will not let people destroy my name over a fake narrative. That's not happening. Not this time." So Barb's went wild. But outside that bubble, the reaction was mixed and brutal. Many saw it not as an apology, but as deflection. And it didn't help that she never directly denied using the specific slurs. Cardi B saw it too. And she wasn't staying quiet. Within minutes, Cardi jumped on her own Instagram Live. The difference between the two was night and day. Where Nicki's live felt rehearsed and defensive, Cardi was raw, real, and emotional. A fake narrative. "Girl, stop it," Cardi said, shaking her head. "People heard you. People saw it. You said my daughter's name. You called her things I won't even repeat. This ain't editing. This ain't trolling. This is your mouth. Take accountability." Her voice cracked as she continued. "You don't get to disrespect my child and then cry victim when people call you out. That's not how it works. Not with me." And just like that, the internet exploded. Two live streams, one defending, one fighting back, were clipped, stitched, and reposted across every major platform. Twitter became a digital battlefield. TikTokers narrated every moment like a reality show. Commentators, influencers. Even verified celebrities were picking apart every second. A famous media host tweeted, "Nicki's response is giving deflection. Cardi's response is giving mother protecting her child." That tweet alone racked up over 500,000 likes. Meanwhile, Offset was moving in silence but powerfully. His legal team issued an official statement through his lawyer, confirming that the lawsuit was proceeding. "This isn't about music or internet drama," the statement read. "This is about a father protecting his child from public humiliation and malicious attacks." The language was sharp. No fluff, no dancing around the issue. And that clarity hit the public like a thunderclap. Because now it wasn't just a rap feud. It was a legal narrative. With Nicki positioned on one side of it, back in Nicki's camp, tension was boiling. Even some of her industry allies were privately urging her to do damage control. One insider leaked that a PR strategist begged her to issue a formal apology directly to Culture Kiari, Cephas, and Cardi. Nicki reportedly refused. "She doesn't want to look weak," the insider said. "She wants to fight." But that fighting spirit was costing her. A prominent festival quietly postponed negotiations to book Nicki as a headliner. A clothing brand unfollowed her. Several blogs that once supported her began to distance themselves from the story. Why? Because this wasn't about beef anymore. It was about image. And in a world where reputation is everything, Nicki's was hanging by a thread. On the other side, Cardi's fan base had turned the narrative into a rallying cry. Memes of Cardi as a warrior mom trended. People shared clips of her talking about protecting her daughter. For every defensive Nicki fan, there were 10 Cardi supporters posting receipts. Cardi didn't have to do much. Her silence between lives spoke louder than any verse. She wasn't dropping diss tracks. She was standing on moral high ground, and the world noticed. Meanwhile, Nicki tried to shift the conversation. She started dropping cryptic tweets. "When they can't beat you, they lie on you. Y'all love a villain until the truth comes out. They shook because they know who runs this." These weren't helping. In fact, they only intensified the narrative that she was refusing to own up. Even some longtime fans were uneasy. "I've been a Barb for 10 years, one user tweeted, "but I can't defend this. Just say sorry and mean it." Behind the scenes, legal teams were clashing. Offset's side was reportedly preparing to subpoena the livestream footage directly from the platform. If they succeeded, there'd be no more edited excuses. At the same time, industry veterans began to weigh in. A legendary rapper posted, "Beef is beef. But kids are always off limits. No exceptions." "This ain't rap anymore, this is real life." That post was shared thousands of times. As the dust from the dueling live streams settled, one thing became crystal clear. Nicki's decision to defend instead of apologize had poured gasoline on an already raging fire. And the most dangerous part? This wasn't just hurting her public image, it was splitting the industry in two. Artists who once worked with both women were quietly choosing sides. Publicists were warning clients to stay neutral. Producers were pulling back from projects to avoid being caught in the crossfire. This wasn't just drama. This was damage. Real, measurable, career-impacting damage, and still, both camps were far from done. Nicki believed she was being set up, dragged into a storm created by her enemies. Cardi believed she was defending the one thing in her life that was untouchable. Her child, neither was backing down. And as fans, brands, and industry power players dug in, everyone watching could feel it. The real explosion was still to come. The world had already been holding its breath since Nicki Minaj went live. The narrative was split. The fan bases were at war, and lawyers were preparing their next move. But no one was ready for what happened next. The receipts hit the internet. It started with a short clip posted by a major gossip page. A clear, unedited screen recording of the original live stream. Nicki's voice loud and unmistakable. No cuts, no filters. No twists. She said the words. The crowd heard the slurs. She referenced Culture Chiari Cephas directly. Within minutes, the clip had millions of views. By the 1 hour mark, it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube reaction channels. Even mainstream news outlets. Hashtags like #NickiExposed, #OffsetReceipts. And #KeepKidsOutOfBeef trended globally. All those claims of editing and misunderstanding collapsed in real time. Even some of Nicki's most die-hard supporters had to pause. One tweet from a Barb summed it up. "I love Nicki, but damn, this is bad. No editing, no excuses." Offset and Cardi B stayed silent for the first few hours. They didn't need to speak. The internet was doing the work for them. But behind the scenes, Offset's legal team moved quickly. The leaked video was their smoking gun, undeniable evidence that Nicki had crossed the line. In hip-hop, beef can be brutal. But kids, that's a no-go zone. Always has been. Always will be. The legal drama was picking up speed too. Lawyers confirmed that if Nicki didn't settle or formally retract her statements, the case could lead to a courtroom trial, televised, high-profile, and career-altering. And then came the bombshell. A popular entertainment lawyer went on record in an interview, saying, if this goes to trial and Cardi's side wins, this could set a precedent for how far celebrity feuds can legally go. This isn't just about Nicki anymore. This is about every influencer, rapper, and public figure who thinks kids are fair game in beef. That statement made headlines worldwide. What began as a personal feud between two rap queens was now being framed as a legal and cultural turning point. And Nicki, she went quiet again. For a woman known for her fire, her quick clapbacks, and her online dominance, her silence now felt loud. The Barbs noticed. The press noticed. And Offset's legal team noticed too. Rumors swirled that Nicki's inner circle was pressuring her to settle quietly before things got worse. Others claimed she wanted to fight to the end to prove she wouldn't be bullied. But with receipts out in the open, that fight was looking more and more like a losing battle. Meanwhile, Cardi used her platform strategically. Instead of gloating, she posted a simple message. This isn't about rap. It's about respect. Keep my daughter's name out your mouth. The comment section exploded with support. Fans called her a real mother. Celebrities applauded her strength. And even some of Nicki's past collaborators reposted her words. By the end of the day, every corner of the internet had an opinion. Hip-hop forums, entertainment podcasts, parenting advocacy groups, legal analysts, everyone was talking about it. Some compared it to infamous feuds in rap history. But others pointed out this wasn't about lyrics. It was about a child, and that made it different. The pressure on Nicki was now unbearable. Festival bookings, brand deals, and even collaborations were in jeopardy. A source close to a major label executive leaked that several artists had already pulled out of planned features, and in a twist no one saw coming. Even a few members of Nicki's fan base began urging her publicly to apologize for real. "Queen, we love you, but own up to this one. Don't let pride end your legacy." But Nicki Minaj isn't known for backing down easily. Whether she'd choose war or redemption was the question burning in everyone's mind. For now, the battlefield was clear. Cardi and Offset had the evidence. The industry was shifting away from neutrality. The public was demanding accountability, and Nicki's next move would determine whether this ended in court or in career consequences. By the time the case between Nicki Minaj and Cardi B officially reached the courthouse, the world was already watching like it was the Super Bowl of celebrity scandals. Lines wrapped around the block as reporters, bloggers, fan bases, and curious onlookers gathered for a glimpse of the legal war that had flipped the music industry upside down. Outside, chants from Barb's and Barty Gang clashed like rival sports teams. Inside, the tension was so thick it could have snapped like a mic cord. Nicki entered first. Black sunglasses, neutral suit, jaw clenched. She looked composed, but the stiffness in her walk told a different story. She wasn't here to smile. She was here to fight. Minutes later, Cardi arrived with Offset and their legal team. Offset held her hand the entire way. No big designer outfit, no flashy smile, just quiet power. That image alone went viral within seconds. When the judge entered, the room fell silent. No screaming fans, no hashtags, just the sound of one of the most infamous feuds in modern hip-hop about to be dissected under oath. The opening statements set the tone. Offset's attorney didn't mince words. This case isn't about music. It's about the line that was crossed when a grown adult used a child's name as a weapon in a public feud. That is harassment. That is defamation. That is cruelty. And we have proof. Nicki's legal team fired back with their own strategy. This case is built on social media hysteria, edited narratives, and public opinion. Ms. Minaj regrets that her words were misunderstood. But this is not a matter of legal wrongdoing. It's internet noise, nothing more. But the problem for Nicki was this: it wasn't internet noise. The receipts from Part 5 were admissible evidence. The raw clip, time-stamped, verified, and authenticated, was played on the courtroom monitor. The room went dead quiet as Nicki's voice echoed through the speakers. "Culture, come get your chain." Pause. Then laughter. "She looks like a roach, like a monkey." Even the judge's expression shifted. Cardi's lawyers didn't need to embellish a thing. The words spoke for themselves. Cardi held her composure, but Offset's jaw tightened visibly. He didn't blink once during the playback. When the video ended, you could almost hear the collective exhale of hundreds of people. Nicki's team tried to counter. They argued about context, claimed Nicki was joking, that the clip was taken in a moment of heated online banter. But the internet had already framed the moment as something darker, and the courtroom wasn't buying it either. Cardi then took the stand. And this was the moment that turned the tide completely. Her voice didn't shake. "When someone talks about me, I can handle that. I'm a grown woman. But when you talk about my child, you cross a line I can't ignore. She's innocent. She's not part of this industry. She's a baby. And you disrespected her publicly." Cardi glanced at Nicki for the first time during her testimony. No yelling, no screaming, just a stare that said everything. Offset was next. His statement was simple but powerful. "I don't care about rap beef. I care about my family. And if you come for my daughter, I'm not letting it slide, ever." The judge nodded along slowly. Even the most skeptical reporters admitted later that the raw emotion from both Cardi and Offset landed harder than any cross-examination. Then it was Nicki's turn. She walked up to the stand, removed her glasses, and began carefully. She didn't cry. She didn't explode. She tried to be strategic. "I never meant to hurt that child. That was not my intention. I was angry. I was reacting, and I let the moment get the best of me. But I am not a monster. Her team clearly hoped this would soften the blow, but the damage was already carved in stone. The receipts, the weeks of denial, the backlash, the brands, the silence. It all weighed against her. Cross-examination was brutal. Cardi's lawyer asked one question that broke the courtroom open. If you didn't mean to hurt her, why didn't you apologize to the child directly the first time before the lawsuit? Nicki didn't answer right away. The pause said more than her words ever could by the end of the testimony. The energy in the room had shifted again, but not in Nicki's favor. When the verdict came down days later, it hit like a hammer across the industry. The court ruled in favor of Cardi and Offset. Nicki was found liable for defamation and emotional distress and ordered to pay $1 million in damages. But more than the money, the ruling sent a message. Kids are not fair game in celebrity feuds. The aftermath, the legal loss rippled fast. Multiple sponsors quietly pulled out of upcoming projects with Nicki. Festival organizers paused or replaced her on several lineups. PR agencies used the case as a cautionary tale in internal trainings. Nicki finally posted a formal apology, this time written by her legal team, directed at Cardi, Offset, and especially Culture Chiari Cephas. I let anger speak louder than my integrity. I take full responsibility for my words. To Culture and her family, I am deeply sorry. But it was too late to undo the cultural shift. Cardi and Offset didn't gloat. Cardi simply posted, "You protect your kids. That's the rule, always." The comment section filled with support from fans, celebrities, and even people who weren't part of the hip-hop world. Her image, once called volatile, was now being celebrated as that of a mother who stood her ground. Meanwhile, Nicki's fan base fractured. Some stood by her, others walked away quietly. Industry insiders whispered about a long road to rebuild. The lawsuit wasn't just a legal loss. It was a turning point. It redefined boundaries in celebrity beef. It proved the internet can become evidence, and it showed that even the most powerful names in music can face consequences when they cross the wrong line. Outside the courthouse, Offset and Cardi left hand in hand. No theatrics, no extra words, just quiet victory. Nicki slipped out through a side exit. No cameras, no cheers, just silence. And somewhere between those two exits, the entire industry learned a lesson it won't soon forget. In rap, beef can make you legendary. But when you come for someone's child, it can destroy everything. And there you have it, the beef that went from Twitter shade to a courtroom storm. When Nicki Minaj crossed the line, she didn't just spark a feud. She ignited a cultural reckoning. This wasn't just about rap anymore. This was about family, respect, and the price of going too far. And when the dust finally settled, it was Cardi B, Offset, and little Culture Chiari Cephas, who stood taller than ever. Now the entire industry has been put on notice. Kids are off limits, period. What started as petty online drama has changed the game forever. But here's the real question. Is this truly the end? Or just the calm before an even bigger storm? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the second this story twists again, we'll have the tea first. Twists again, we'll have the tea first.